Hello and welcome back to Matte's Tottenham blog and today's episode of the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Hal from Sheffield United Way to talk about the upcoming fixture on Sunday, Sheffield United facing Spurs in the Premier League in what is a big game for both teams. But first of all, Hal, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you getting on?
Good. It's an absolute pleasure. Nice to speak to you.
It's absolutely great to have you on. Look, for those who are watching, if you are new to the channel, you want more of these fan voice podcasts, we have breaking transfer news videos, live podcasts, live watch-alongs, anything you could want from a Spurs channel. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well so you get notified whenever we upload. But look, let's dive straight into things. Hal, halfway through the season, almost 5 points. It's not been what Sheffield United fans were expecting from this season, has it?
Oh, when you put it like that, halfway through the season, wow, it sounds even worse. No, it's not been what we expected. It's been the exact opposite. If you think about last season, when we actually took 4 points off Tottenham, for example. Mm-hmm. Now, we were flying. It probably should have been 6. And we can't even blame the lockdown because we came back after the first sort of real lockdown where we had that season break. And, we beat Tottenham, we beat Chelsea, we beat Wolves. And again, we were looking really good. And it's just been the start of this season where we had an injury to Jack O'Connell, who is our Virgil van Dijk, if you like. He's our most crucial player. And because we have overlapping centre-backs, he attacks down the left and Basham attacks down the right. Well, we literally started the season with just Basham attacking down the right, which made us incredibly predictable and exposed down that right-hand side. And teams picked us off. We've slightly changed the style recently, and results have, I wouldn't say turned, one win, but it's better than no wins.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking at the form that you have to kind of preparing for this, and I was quite shocked to see that you've lost 15 games this season, but 12 of those defeats have been by a 1-goal margin. So it's not like you're going out and losing 4 or 5-0 every week. You know, you've had a few big defeats. I think Chelsea was one of them, and was it Crystal Palace or maybe another one? There's another big
2-0.
Yeah, and like it's even that, like for 2-0 to be one of your biggest defeats of the season. Are the results as bad as the performances on the pitch, or do you think, like with the the late defeat against Leicester and a few other teams as well, is it just bad luck, or are the performances actually as bad as the record might suggest?
That's a really good point. And last season we didn't concede many goals, but we didn't score many goals. This season we've continued not scoring many goals, but we've only kept 1 clean sheet. But the problem is that we're playing quite well and we're just not being clinical at all. We're often playing as well as other teams. We gave Manchester United a really good game. That Leicester game could have been a draw. Of course it could. Same with Leeds. We could have beaten Leeds and probably should have beaten Leeds. And it's just been a case of, you can't say you're unlucky in 12 games, but crikey, it feels like that. And it feels like we've had really loads of opportunities, just haven't taken them. We've got so many strikers, and even last season, our top goal scorer only got 6 goals. That has been the issue. We just do not take our chances. And actually, you look at a team like Derby County, who finished with the lowest ever points, 11. We're not a Derby County. Derby were getting hammered when they were getting beaten each week. We're not getting hammered. And even when we got beaten by Chelsea, they put 4 past us. We still took the lead. And we still looked, for 20 minutes like the better side. So we're scratching our heads, as fans, because we're really not that different, certainly player for player, than last season.
Yeah, and you're talking there about the lack of goals. Is it 9 goals he scored this season? 9 scored in 18 games, which is the joint least in the league with Burnley. But it's not like you're short of striker options, because you have, of course, Billy Sharp scoring the winner against Newcastle the other day. You have Lys Mousset, you've David McGoldrick, but you've Ryan Brewster as well, who you spent a lot of money on. I mean, a lot of money in the summer, and he just hasn't been the player that you kind of need to be. And like from my point of view, the fact that there is such a big sell-on clause in that deal that you signed for Liverpool, you kind of need a quick return from him to make that deal worthwhile. But I think the most interesting thing for me is kind of your most prolific goal scorer seems to be David McGoldrick, but only against the bigger teams. And it just seems really weird, that kind of dynamic that's there, that you just can't seem to put the ball in the back of the net. Do you know why that is, or is it just a case of the finishing not being good enough?
Well, Didsy, that's David McGoldrick. Last season, he scored a perfectly good goal against Tottenham away, which was disallowed for Lundstrom's toe being offside. But of course, anyone who remembers that goal remembers he didn't even put the ball in, which led to the goal. So an absolute nonsense. And that would have started McGoldrick off on a run, because he's actually playing just as well as he did last season. And last season, he couldn't buy a goal. This season, he's our top goal scorer. So that's just bizarre. We can't get our heads around that. It's the midfield, I think. I don't think it's the strikers. I think we're just not creating anything. And the strikers can't feed off scraps. They need something. Rhian Brewster's had no chances, no really great gilt-edged opportunities. And I know you keep saying we spent a lot of money on it. I must admit, I didn't spend all that money on Rhian Brewster, and I know a lot of Blades fans, we're questioning the decision to spend that much money, because that isn't like us. We don't spend money. What we do is we bring players up from our youth team and sell them to Tottenham. That is our model. And it's worked well. I'm joking about Tottenham, but I'm saying that because of players like Kyle Walker and Kyle Norton. But actually, we've brought through loads of great strikers that are playing in the Premier League now and have played for England, like, I don't know, Che Adams, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Players like that. I just picked two off the top of my head that are still playing in the Premier League. And if they were up front for the Blades right now, products of kind of our own system, we'd probably be absolutely fine. But it is the midfield, and that's probably the key thing I need to get across. We're not creating enough from midfield for our strikers. We've got 6 or 7 strikers, and it can't be all of them.
Yeah, it's a good point. And if you want to move into the midfield now, I think one area where your scouting team and the team buying players certainly did a very good job was Sander Berge, who is an extremely good player. And he's the fact that he looks as good as he does in a team that's, or at least even towards the tail end of last season, a team that wasn't performing as well, I think just goes to show the level of quality that he does have. How happy are you to have someone like Berge in your team?
He's a really interesting one because he's obviously class. I mean, he's absolutely class. Mm-hmm. He oozes class. He's injured at the moment, and he'll be out probably for the rest of the season. And that's massive. Yeah, well, maybe March he might come back. There's certainly inklings that he could come back in March, but the injury was so severe that you certainly don't want to rush him. And of course, if he's back in March, he's going to get training on the grass, and then he's got to get back up to match fitness. And you're thinking, maybe there'll be a delay in the season. I wouldn't be against that. In fact, really, I'd like the whole season to be null and void. I think that would be fantastic. But Sander Berge is a good player, and this is going to be tin hat time for a lot of Blades fans. We look better without him. Dare I say that?
Okay.
So he came into our team sort of January, and our form kind of dipped after we signed him. It's a coincidence, I'm sure, because he's brilliant. He doesn't put a foot wrong, and he tries so hard. He gives 100% every game. That's all you want as a fan, isn't it? You just want to see players trying, and he does. And he's got so much. He can tackle, he can shoot, he can pass, he can cross set pieces, good in the air. He's got skill, takes it beautifully down on his chest. He's got a great song. There's everything about the man that you would like. But really, if I'm being honest, our season and our form has sort of taken a nosedive literally since we signed him. We had a few good results with Sander in, and as I say, it's not his fault. It is a coincidence. But we've also picked up our wins this season without him.
I honestly, I didn't know that record. It's a strange one, and considering like from an outside point of view, and feel free to disagree with me. I think he's probably the best player that is at Sheffield United right now.
It probably is.
There are other players in there with potential, like Oliver Burke, Rhian Brewster, of course, as well. There are players, and is it Jaden Bogle, the player you brought up from the Championship? I think there are some really good players in there. But in that midfield, who would be your kind of starting 3 midfielders at the moment?
We've only got 3.
Oh, you only have 3. Okay,
we've only got 3, so we don't even have anyone on the bench. If a midfielder gets injured, that's it. We didn't have a single midfielder on the bench. I mean, some people would say Ollie Burke is a midfielder. He's really a right winger, and he played right wing back when he was at Alaves. He's playing up front for us, and his finishing shows that he's not a striker. A bit like Callum Robinson when we had him last season. He's not a striker. So our midfield is John Fleck on the left, then Ollie Norwood in the middle, and John Lundstrom on the right. John Lundstrom is want away. He might even be gone in the next few days. Who knows? Okay. He wants to leave. We've offered him a very, very good contract. For Sheffield United, it's an outstanding contract, and he thinks he can get more elsewhere. So good luck to him. He's a fine player. We made him, but okay, if that's how you want to treat us, fine. I mean, I think he should remember where he was when we signed him, because he was in and out of an Oxford United team in League One, and we've taken him to the Premier League. So there's a bit of bitterness, I think, with Blades fans and John Lundstrom. He hasn't really repaid that faith. The first time a new contract's been put on the table, he said no.
Yeah, look, I can understand the bitterness there for sure, but from a Spurs point of view, I wouldn't say we're having midfield woes at the moment, but there's just been a lot of important games where midfield has kind of let us down, and there's a big debate at the moment about Harry Winks, Moussa Sissoko, whether they should be in the first team. And Domblé is playing really advanced. There's talk that he should be putting a double pivot with Højbjerg. But even with this kind of debate and the underperformance of the Spurs midfield of late, are you concerned that we could control the game in the middle of the park on Sunday?
Yeah. I mean, just the names you've just listed there. You've not even mentioned Dele Alli, who's sort of unpopular with Mourinho for some reason. There's so much more quality. Player for player, let's be honest, Tottenham should beat Sheffield United, but that was the same last season. That was the same even when we played you in the League Cup back in, what was it,
2015, I think it was.
2015, gosh, it's the 2-2 at Bramall Lane, and you only beat us at White Hart Lane with a Jay McKeeverley penalty in the last minute. So even back then, I was looking back at the two teams that we played in those days. I mean, we were rubbish. Those players we had in our team then have gone on to do very, very little, apart from Chris Basham and Che Adams. And Che Adams, even then, he was a sub and came on and scored his first goals for us. And didn't really do anything else for us that season. But looking back at your side then, even then, you had some of the quality you've still got now. So, that Tottenham midfield now really, really frightens me. And if you're a betting man, you'd say Tottenham should turn up and win quite easily. But I watched Tottenham against Fulham, and I'd have said the same. So, on paper, but we don't play football on paper, and that's why we love it.
Exactly. So anything can happen, and it's a bit to the detriment of Spurs at the moment. But look, it'll be an interesting game. But coming back to the defence now, we've already mentioned the absence of Jack O'Connell. Do you think his absence is affecting the form of the players around him? Like, I think John Egan certainly hasn't lived up to the standard that he played at last season. Chris Basham, of course, as you were mentioning, a lot of the onus on him in terms of the attacking. It's all there for him. Do you think O'Connell's absence has affected not only the system but the actual form of the players around him as well?
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, Egan is still Egan. He didn't have his best game against Newcastle United, but he's still John Egan, and John Egan is fantastic. And I do worry that if the Blades went down, John Egan would be one that would be snapped up by a kind of mid-table Premier League side, because he's just so good and he is so consistent, and he's a leader out there, and he's strong and he doesn't make mistakes. Yeah, we all love John Egan. Got so much time for him. Bash is just an anomaly because Chris Basham shouldn't be in the Premier League. Everything you look at him is so awkward. He just shouldn't be a Premier League player, and he's come on the journey with us, as a lot of them have, like John Fleck as well, and Norwood and Lundstrom and Billy Sharp. A lot of them are still, Ender Stevens and George Baldock. They've come with us through the lower leagues to where we are now. But Basham, I think any fan would have said 4 or 5 years ago, there's no chance Chris Basham plays in the Premier League. He doesn't just play in the Premier League for us now. He's our player of the season, and he just never lets us down. He's Mr. Consistent. So, yes, he's actually still been up there in terms of his performances. But without O'Connell, the whole defence looks all at sea at times. We've tried 7 different players to replace Jack O'Connell. And apart from sort of one good performance from Ampadu, and I mean one good performance from Ampadu, because he's been Ampa-poo, it's been really, really painful watching players like Keane Bryan, who were on loan at Bolton last season, try and come in. Ender Stevens, who's a left wing back, trying to play left centre back, and he's cost us goals in the air because he's short. It's not his fault. He's not a centre back. So asking players, Jack Robinson as well, who's just good at long throws, asking these players to play in that position has been unfair on them, and they've looked out of position, which they are.
Yeah, I think you made a point there in terms of the kind of players that have been with Sheffield United kind of the whole way through the journey, and there's quite a few of them there. And I kind of said this a bit earlier in the season when it kind of started to look as though Sheffield United could be relegated by, like March, April sort of time. And my kind of point was the way Sheffield United performed last season was beyond everyone's expectations. I'm sure you as a fan would admit you never could even have dreamt of how well you did last season. But I think opposition fans are kind of making the mistake at the moment of judging Sheffield United on that one season rather than actually looking at the players you have at your disposal. Because at the end of the day, it's not a Premier League squad. It's not a squad that if you took each player by player on paper said they're Premier League players, they're players that as a squad should stay in the Premier League. So do you think there is that element of people judging the club on last season alone rather than the whole general picture?
Yeah, you're right, though, with the squad. It's not a Premier League squad. I personally don't care what other fans think of the Blades. We know that Chris Wilder is having one blip in an otherwise immaculate record where he's always finished higher and with more points the following season or in a higher division. It's been an incredible ride. This is the season we should have had last season. We had great performances last season. It wasn't a sort of flash in the pan. It wasn't the case that every other team had an off day when they played us. We were brilliant. We were incisive with our passing. The movement was incredible. We looked dangerous. We didn't score enough goals, and we were very, very unlucky last season. We haven't been unlucky this season, really, in terms of things like going against us. We were last season. VAR really stiffed us last season on numerous occasions. Bad refereeing decisions really hurt us last season. That hasn't really happened this season. We just haven't taken our chances. That's been on us this season. I fully blame us this season. I didn't last season. I think we should have finished higher last season because I watched every game. We outplayed most teams, and I felt we should have finished in Europe.
Yeah, look, I kind of towards the end of the season, there was honestly a part of me that was thinking, would I rather see Tottenham in the Europa League or Sheffield United in the Europa League? It was such an incredible journey, and I think like football kind of fell in love with the confidence and the optimism that Sheffield United were playing with, because I used to be a big fan of the Championship. If I had time now, I still would be. But Sheffield United were a team I loved watching play because those overlapping centre backs, you don't see it. Like it's not a thing that happens. And I was thinking, well, you're not going to see that in the Premier League. They're going to play defensive football. But Wilder, he had the guts to come up into the Premier League and he played that football, and it caused problems for every team that you played against, including Tottenham, including Manchester City, including Chelsea. Were you surprised to see that sort of those tactics still implemented in the Premier League last season, or do you just think it's Wilder, he's going to do it?
Wilder's always said he's not going to change his style, and he goes for it. If we get 2 players sent off, he leaves 2 strikers up. That's Wilder. He's all about attack. He's like, in theory, we should be a side that scores lots of goals. And I think Wilder wants us to be a side that scores lots of goals. And until we got in the Premier League, we were a side that scored lots of goals. So, it's just been one of those things it's really surprised us. I mean, obviously the level of opposition is so much stronger, so it's more difficult to score those goals. But we still go for it. And last season, we still created lots of chances. We weren't clinical. This season, we're not creating chances and we're still not clinical. And that's really all it's come down to.
Yeah, it's definitely a deadly duo there. But onto the defensive, kind of the goalkeeper specifically is what I want to talk about. And Dean Henderson was, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League last season. There was some performances out of him that were just absolutely ridiculous. I think Chelsea was one of them at Manchester City at Bramall Lane as well, where he was plucking balls at the top corner that you wouldn't expect to see prime Neuer saving. And you lost him, I think, as you were expecting to. You lost him to back to Manchester United in the summer, and you brought in Aaron Ramsdale. Just bring yourself back to when that signing was announced. Ramsdale, the goalkeeper of a team that, of course, had just been relegated. Bournemouth come back down to the Championship. In the moment, were you happy with that signing?
Well, Ramsdale was our keeper before. We sold him when Chris Wilder's wedding day, actually, to Bournemouth. So it was more like another of the young lads that came with us on the journey coming back. So in a way, it was nice because we like being, there's a nickname, the Brexit Blades, which I don't really like, but it's the idea that we have players from sort of England, Scotland, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Wales. And it was quite nice to have another English player come back. So that was good. And it's always good when we sign players that feel like they have a heart in the right place. And certainly he's a Sheffield United supporter. So that was good. So we were excited about that. We were also gutted about Dean Henderson because it's a tournament year and Dean Henderson would have been playing 36 games because he'd have been on loan from Man United, so he wouldn't have played those 2. So he'd have played pretty much every game, but he's decided to go and warm the bench at Man United in a tournament year. That's his call. And I know he'd have gone back thinking, I'm good enough to oust De Gea. And he is the best goalkeeper I've ever seen. And what I've seen him for 2 full seasons, and he's the best. So yeah, it's not going to be as good as Dean Henderson, Aaron Ramsdale, but we liked him, we welcomed him back, and we certainly had hope. So we were all quite ebullient when that signing was made. Ridiculous amount of money, but that's the state of the market. Yeah,
and you kind of emphasised the word hope there in terms of when you were signing him. Has he lived up to the hope that you had in him, or do you think he's just let you down this season?
No, he's not been his fault. A lot of fans have a go at Ramsdale, and some of the people I work with always say, your keeper's rubbish. I don't think he is. I think he's a pretty good goalkeeper, and he cares. And he's not out there deliberately trying to make mistakes. He doesn't really make errors. The problem, I think, with Ramsdale is he tries to save everything. And that might sound like a silly criticism, but he tries to make worldy saves all the time. And he shouldn't sometimes. Sometimes he should do the simple thing. So sometimes I think that's what catches him out. His positioning sometimes also leaves a little bit to be desired. His kicking's good, his throwing's good. So those things that, the intangibles and some of the stuff you can actually work on, that's already good. That's already right up there. He is saving shots that he's expected to save. In fact, I think he's right up there with making the most saves in the Premier League. So he's doing the job. But unfortunately, he doesn't have the defence in front of him that Dean Henderson had last season because Jack O'Connell is that important.
Yeah, look, the one thing a goalkeeper needs is it's a defence in front of him. If a goal goes in, you're always going to assume the keeper had some part to play in, or it was his fault. But when you're conceding the amount of chances that you are, I think that there's only so much he can do. And just before we get on to the game itself on Sunday, I want to have a quick word about Chris Wilder. And you kind of mentioned a second ago in terms of this is just a blip in his career. It's kind of interesting to see from an outside point of view, looking at what's happening at Sheffield United, even though obviously we're aware of what Wilder has done for the club, the fact that you are this far into the season and it already looks as though you will be going down. You've just picked up your first win of the season in the league. It's weird to see the fans, for the most part, fully supporting and backing the manager. But can you just give us a bit of an insight into why that is?
Well, he's a blade. He was a ball boy. He's a fan. I remember going to Crystal Palace away, and Wilder was behind me in the stands before he was our manager. Played for us, loves us. He's from Sheffield. He epitomizes us in the dugout. A bit like Billy Sharp is our representative on the pitch. Wilder is our representative in the dugout. So why would we pick on one of our own? I know a lot of fans like to pick one player who's, one of their own. We've got loads. We're really lucky. We have a team that's got sort of 4 or 5 players that are Sheffield United fans and proper fans as well. Proper. I mean, Billy Sharp, crikey, he's as much of a fan as I am. He could be doing this and saying as much as stuff that I am. Wilder is going to have our backing because he's actually we're fans. I like to think we're fans that we recognise what has happened before. You've got that kind of credit in the bank. So why would we just throw it all away? If we didn't have Chris Wilder and we were going down, you'd look out there and go, well, who can get a team promoted? Chris Wilder's got that on his CV. I'd want him. So if he wasn't our manager, we'd want him. So if we do go down, Chris Wilder will bring us back up. He's already done it before with multiple teams. So we know he can do it again. And why would we want someone that doesn't care about the club as much as we do? Because he does.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to hear you say that, like, if you didn't have Chris Wilder, he'd be the one that you did want, because it just reminds me of when Spurs sacked Pochettino. Like, people are kind of saying, who's the one manager out there who's free that you think could build Tottenham? And it was Pochettino. So it's the first time I've heard a fan of another club say that. So I think that is quite interesting. Just getting onto the game itself now. Tottenham fans at the moment, I think you'd struggle to find any Tottenham fan that doesn't predict a 1-1 in this game in terms of Tottenham taking an early lead and Sheffield United getting a late equaliser. Would you have the same sort of confidence in your side for this one?
First of all, that's not going to happen, because if you score first, this season has proved it, you win. So we're not going to equalise, all right? We're not going to equalise. If we score first, we might win, okay? That's kind of how I've looked at every game this season. But if we concede first, it's game over. I remember it was like 3 minutes in, we conceded against Palace, and it switched the telly off time, because that's it. Game over. We're not going to score, so forget about it. Last season, completely different story, but this season, that has been the way it's gone. Now, I hope that from our recent form, say that so loosely, that actually a table has turned and we can put on a performance like we did last season at home against Spurs and absolutely smash you and put 3 past you and dominate the entire game. That's what I hope will happen. And we could still pick, pretty much apart from like 3 players, we could still pick the exact same 11. So it's not the players. It's so many things. It's like circumstances, no fans. Jack O'Connell, obviously that is players, but you know what I mean? They still have the core and the nucleus, so they've got to believe. They can't look back there and see no Jack O'Connell, see no Dean Henderson and go, oh, we can't keep a clean sheet. They've got to believe, because the majority of the players are still exactly the same. They can still do it. It's all up here.
And you say it is all still the same. I was watching a bit of Nick's review from of course, on Sheffield United away, for those who don't know, his review after the Newcastle game, and he said it was the Sheffield United of last season, and the way you played, the way you dominated that game, everything about it. Is there that sort of feeling that you're thinking, look, if there was any year when this was going to happen, this great escape, it would be this year? Is there any part of you that's thinking about that already, or are you kind of already resigned to relegation?
I'm not resigned to relegation, because I'm never the optimist and I'm an idiot. If I didn't support Sheffield United, I'd have a look at this table and I'd say Sheffield United are down. There's absolutely no way they're going to get out of that. But I am a Sheffield United fan, and what's the point of being a supporter if you don't kind of back the boys? So I'm going to believe, and I'm actually a proper supporter. I go to all the games, even though I live just outside London, and I'm closer to Tottenham than I am to Sheffield United. But home and away, that's me. So yeah, I really do think that performance against Newcastle was the first one this season where we looked like the Sheffield United of last season. I really hope they all look at it as players and go, oh, okay, that's us. That's us out there. We did that, so we can do that again. And I really hope they look at the game against Tottenham from last season and say, we've done this before. Let's go and do it again.
Yeah, well, I hope they do bring confidence from that Newcastle game, maybe starting on Monday and then carried into the rest of the season.
It's too late by then. We've got to win them all now.
Win every game to have stand a chance. Just from a Sheffield United point of view, what do you make of Tottenham lately? And this, as I was saying, the whole idea of us scoring early, conceding late, drawing 1-1 against the kind of teams in the lower half of the table. And what players would you be worried about, bar the obvious, in affecting this game for Spurs?
Well, barring the obvious is quite a tough one for me. I mean, you look at it on paper like Harry Kane, Bale, just class. I don't understand Tottenham. I haven't ever understood Tottenham for years. Tottenham's squad has looked to me as an outsider like one that could win the league or win a big cup or win in Europe, and hasn't. So it's almost like there's a hex on them. I don't know. It's really strange. It's really strange. Maybe they're cursed forever. I don't know. I don't particularly care either. I was trying to think about this earlier. Like, I don't have any friends that support Tottenham. I don't know. I think the team in the Premier League I know the least about is Tottenham, and most of my mates support Arsenal.
Why did I get you on here? You're Arsenal.
Yeah, sorry. I've got such little opinion on Tottenham. They're just. Alan Partridge shrug. I don't know.
Well, look, I assume even if you don't know much about Tottenham, you can muster up a score prediction for the game on Sunday.
Oh no, my New Year's resolution, was to give up doing predictions, and I started that at the Bristol Rovers game, and we won. And I didn't do a prediction for Newcastle, so there's no chance you're getting a prediction from me now. I have already told you if you score first, you'll win, so you could just take that.
We'll do that. We'll leave it at that. So, Hal, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today and getting a fantastic insight into the team that we're facing on Sunday. Do you want to actually just give a quick word on your channel and where we can find you on Twitter as well?
Yeah, at Sheff United Way on all the socials. I did just say the word socials, and I will go and be sick in my mouth. And you can also search Sheff United Way as it's written beneath my face, Sheff United Way. We didn't go with Sheffield United Way because John Egan wrote a song last season, season before actually, about the club and our promotion, and he said playing football the Sheff United Way. So Nick and I, who you've already mentioned, decided to call it the Sheff United Way, and that is the reason behind it. And if you are not a Sheffield United fan, you think, why would I want to go on that channel? Well, we also do interviews with former footballers who have played for a number of clubs, some of which coming up, including Tottenham. So there is some general interest there as well.
Absolutely fantastic. I'll leave the channel linked out in the description below for anyone who doesn't want to check that out. From me, look, I think you all know what to expect from this channel at this stage. Transfer news videos, podcasts, opposition, previews, reviews, anything you could want from a Spurs channel, and a little bit more. So make sure to smash that subscribe button as well if you are interested. And we do have memberships on the channel now. So if you are interested in becoming a channel member for exclusive access and exclusive content, please go down and hit that join button and everything will be explained for you down below. Look, from Hal and myself, please smash that like button. And as always, thanks for watching.